Welcome back to Now, No Opportunity Wasted. I'm your host, Angelica Ross. Today is October 7th, and today's word from Buddhism Day by Day, Wisdom for a Modern Life by Daisaku Ikeda says, quote, if you remain sincere in your interactions with others, you will one day find yourself surrounded by good friends. And among those people, your friendships will be as strong and unshakable as towering trees. Don't be impatient. Work first on developing yourself and rest assured that an infinite number of wonderful encounters await you in the future. End quote. I think a key phrase in that quote is if you remain sincere in your interactions with others. I know a lot of us are going through a lot of changes in our friend circles. So I think that this has some good advice. Maybe we can let go of the expectations of how others should show up as friends and focus instead on just us staying sincere on how we show up for others. Focusing more on developing ourselves to be better friends to ourselves and to each other. I believe that if we do that, one day you look up and you'll notice you're surrounded by some pretty amazing people. But on the other hand, if you find yourself being insincere with your interactions with folks or manipulative or not forthcoming about what your true intentions are, then your environment will inevitably become a reflection of what you're putting out there in pursuit of people liking you. This is very important to pay attention to what you really want out of relationships and your friendships with people. And be willing to align your intentions with your actions and be accountable if you want to be able to count on others. Speaking of accountability, to all my winners and my listeners out there, sorry we did not have an episode last week. I needed to take a little small break. To be honest, there's just so much going on, and I am doing my best to be as transparent as I possibly can about my journey, especially because this podcast is about making the most out of life's opportunities and challenges. But I've also learned that timing is everything. So rest assured, I will continue to share some truly life-changing lessons that I've learned from the challenges that I've been dealing with. But I'm just being extremely mindful about the timing, not just about the right time, but more so about allowing me the time to process and to be extremely intentional with the ways that I choose to respond. Anyway, I had a wonderful weekend up in Ithaca, New York, speaking at Cornell University. And the trip started off a little rocky with me missing my connection flight from JFK to Ithaca. But fortunately, I was in good company. I had my hairstylist and my girlfriend with me. And I also had a small breakdown, but I kept it cute. So I also had a therapy session that was, originally scheduled for when I was supposed to land. But now that I was stuck in JFK, I was able to take that appointment in the Delta Sky Lounge. Shout out to Delta, who really took care of me and my crew, got us all rebooked. We had to be in that Delta Lounge for like 7 hours. So everybody knows as well. But, it happened. I still got to go to my thing, and we got to know each other a little bit more. You always get to know people a little bit more, when stuff starts to go left. But overall, it was a great trip, and I got to do a little sightseeing in town. Found this beautiful Black Lives Matter mural that was under this bridge. I got to yell, "Free, free, free Palestine!" As I was passing a local protest that was calling for a ceasefire. And then later that evening, I had a really powerful conversation with the students, the faculty, and the staff at Cornell University. And I plan to share some highlights from that conversation here on the podcast in an upcoming episode. But for now, I'll just say, I took the opportunity to address that Cornell is currently in the process of trying to deport one of their students back to Africa for protesting Palestine and this genocide and asking for a ceasefire and divesting from Israel. What made matters worse was that the Black students all communicated to me that they've been upset, and there's been upset, rightfully so, because they were in a meeting with, Cornell University with the students and their parents, and basically told them that due to their freedom of speech policies, that a member of the KKK would be allowed to be brought to campus as a speaker. But catch it, that student does not have access to the free speech that they speak of. I found it incredibly offensive that Cornell would give more rights to the free speech of the KKK than it would to their own students. But again, I'm going to go into that more in the next episode. But today I'm sharing my hilarious and heartfelt conversation with Dr. JonPaul and Jordan Daniels, hosts of the Black Fat Femme Podcast. Take a listen. This is like a nice little family reunion.
Amen. Amen.
It's really good to see you both, Jordan and Dr. JonPaul from the Black Fat Femme Podcast. How are y'all doing right now? Since you're on the Now podcast, how are you both doing right now?
Well, how are you, Joho?
How am I now? Yes. How am I now? I am, I'm here. I'm queer. I would say I'm doing really good. I feel like it's been a really interesting week work-wise, but I'm feeling really good. I'm so thrilled to be here. Like I've listened to the Now podcast since it came out. I was listening this morning, and so I just really it means a lot. That means a lot that you're having us on today. Yeah, and it makes me feel really affirmed. It's feel really good and really affirmed. So now I'm doing great. Thank you.
Yes.
Amazing. Well, welcome. And Dr. JonPaul.
Yeah, kind of in the same vein. I am also very much. So I know you way before. We go way back. Yeah, we go way back. I mean, well, we're almost 10 years deep now. Yes. And so it's really cool, kind of, I wouldn't even say full circle. I think it's really cool to see you, for you to have the platform I feel you deserve and to be doing it on your own terms. And it's really, I will say, like, how am I feeling? I also feel very validated in a lot of ways. Wow. Because I feel like we all are in our own rights, kind of telling the media, basically we're giving the media the finger and basically saying the ways that you want us to show up is not how we want to show up, and we're going to show up the way we want. And so it's just really cool to be in a place, in a space where I feel like the people who what did they say? The girls that get it. The girls don't.
And the ones that don't, girl. I'm sorry.
That's what it feels. It feels good to be in that space, to be like the girls that get it.
Yes.
And so
as you know, we've traversed these streets, and, as I've come up and, seen you out there doing your thing, because, one thing I love about both of you, is that the girls are credentialed. I mean, they're not just, yip yapping and scribble scrabbling. No, both
you
of y'all.
Too, girl, you're right too. I mean, I would have never asked you to be a part of this journey if I didn't feel like you had the range. And I think that's the thing that's really cool, is to be in the space with people who, not only get it, but have the range. There are a lot of, like you said, Angelica, there are a lot of girls who just jump on the mic and gab, but also they're not doing the work. They have not done the work. They're not wanting to do the work.
Cause that's a big part of it, is wanting to do the work. Because here's the situation. I love to watch a transition happen right before my eyes. Right. Especially as somebody that just gets it, in the sense of, like, listen, our audience has built very organically in a way where it's like, listen, I've grown, so, I'm not demanding certain things, out the gate, as I create my things or whatnot. Yeah. Now, listen, I have a lot of experience doing a lot of different things.
Right.
You've seen through watching this podcast, I've even talked about growing in the interview skills and being able to talk to folks and not like jumping over them in conversation and whatnot. And then I also recently sort of came to terms with my ADHD diagnosis and have been really going down that baby, when I tell you I haven't been affirmed in a way that makes a girl feel good, like, what's it, Stephanie Mills? Is that Stephanie Mills? I feel good all over. Is that?
I feel good. Yes. Yes.
You know, but I feel good about it. And so, because also it calls out those things of like how my brain works and wants to, when I'm in conversation and wants to do that sometimes. So now that I'm managing it, you know, it's even better. But just like seeing folks who, you know, may not recognize the work that they need to do to get from point A to point B, and are not maybe willing to take that work or do that work or take the feedback. How was it for you, like, first launching Black Fat Femme? I know you guys have been on for how long now?
Yeah, we're getting ready to go in year 3. Yeah, we're getting ready to go into year 3. So
so you girls, wait, what's they call that? Freshman, sophomore, junior. You girls are junior.
Yes, our junior years all.
Oh, and wait, and for the people who are listening, right now, because I know both of them, I have been using "girl" as a gender neutral term.
Amen. Everybody's girl to me. I don't care.
Girl,
everybody's gender neutral. Girl.
To me, yes.
So you find everybody's girl.
Yes. So just to give that disclaimer.
Yes, everybody's girl.
This freaking gnat or something in here. I'm like, okay, I'm a Buddhist. I don't want to kill you, but I will kill you. I'm trying to let it live. I'm trying to let it live.
Listen,
I respect
the noble truth is suffering, so that gnat has to suffer. I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it'll go. Like, that's the noble truth, boo.
Listen.
Noble truth.
So talk to me about some of the because this podcast, you know, we really focused in on the opportunity, and because no opportunity wasted.
Right.
What I really try to reflect for folks is that with opportunity, baby, comes challenge.
Amen.
You don't get the opportunity without the challenge of stepping up to that opportunity.
Correct.
That's very what has the challenges of this opportunity of you developing this platform over 3 years in a space that sometimes intersectionally, when you're talking about Black, Fat, and Femme, you know, you're talking about voices that have been, you know, traditionally pushed down and overlooked, you know.
Correct.
So what were some of the challenges developing a podcast centering at those intersections?
I think so. I'll kind of start, because again, the vision really did start with me, and Jordan, I'll say, has really been the one that has been kind of in the garden with me. You know, obviously I brought the seeds and I brought, you know, the stuff, and then Joho is the girl that helped me kind of plant it and start seeing it grow. That's how I look at it, right? It's a garden for both of us. And what I will say is, you know, when I initially brought the fertilizer and the seeds to Joho and said, girl, this is the opportunity we got, right? It did become this game of, do we do what everyone else is doing, or do we stay true to the thing we want to do? And I think that's been part of the 3 years for us, right? I will say that I feel very strongly in the idea that me and Joho have found we found our footing. We found the movement of the show. The show is very organic in the sense of it's we need to say friends now. I would say best friends. There are two best friends who, you know, when I met Joho years ago, it was in a working capacity, and then we developed a friendship outside of that. And now it's really a sisterhood. And when I say sisterhood, it's, you know, Joho will come to me about things. I can go to Joho about anything. I'll even say Joho was one of the first people who got eyes on my book. You know, it's very much that close. That closeness that we have is, I trust Joho a lot more than I think anyone else in my inner circle now. And so when I say all of that is that I had to trust that Joho got my vision when I brought it to them. I think that was the biggest thing, is finding someone who is really on the ride with you, and not just about being on your coattail, but really in the trenches with you, right? And I think people also, I will say this, and then I'll pass it. I will say, I think people think podcasting is just turning on a microphone, coming up with an idea.
It's a lot of
and it's so much
writing.
For us. It's writing. Yeah, I mean, we share the responsibility of, you know, doing our show flows. We share the responsibility of booking people. We share the responsibility of, like, right now, I want to give them credit. Like the live show that we're doing in October, that was all Joho. Joho coordinated a lot of that, right?
Wow.
So it's like we're constantly in this.
It's good to have a good team partner.
Yeah, it's just it's an amazing team dynamic where it's like, I know the days that I can't show up, Joho's going to show up for me. And I have had days where Joho has literally said, girl, I can't do it. Do you got it? And I'm like, yeah, boo, I got you, and so it's just very much, it's almost like a marriage, it's very much in the sense of.
So can I call you Joho too? Mm-hmm. Or is that a family name? I don't, because I just heard Joho. I don't know if I call you Jordan or Joho.
Yes, girl, please.
Oh, yeah, okay,
we friends. You can call me Joho for the show.
Okay.
Yes.
So Joho, what attracted you to the whole vision of the Black Fat Femme Project?
So as John said, we had met in a working capacity before, and I already knew, you meet John and you're already like, I'm enamored. This person's gonna be big in my life. And I mean, when I first met John, I was like, please be my mentor. Please be my mentor. Because John was like everything that I had, that I envisioned, like if I actualize like the work that I do as a human being, as an adult. Because I met John when I was in my early 20s, right? And so like John is like a big actualization of what that looked like. And so I knew I wanted John to be in my life. And John and I had both done written work. We had both done like speaking work. And so we were always in like the same spaces, same circles about what we did, focusing on Blackness, on queerness, on fatness, and all the above. And so I think 2021, John reached out to me because they were working on the podcast with iHeart, and John just said, hey girl, I'm doing the show. I don't know where it may go, but I want you on it. Let me know what you think. And like, it was an easy thought. Like, I was like, girl, you asked me to be on a show on a national network? Girl, I'm there. Like, but say less, please. I'm in. And we sat and talked like what the show be about. John knew that they want to talk about Blackness and fatness and feminist. We were thinking about what the name would be, and we were like, oh, like Black Fat Femme, and we're like, oh, BFF, what a cute way to be like BFF, Black Fat Femme, where we are your BFFs in the hood and stuff. And so it just came so organically and easy. I think what attracted me to it really was that very seldom do you see shows or teams with people. Like, a lot of people feel like if you have big personalities, then it becomes a challenge to work together. You have big personalities that they exist in conflict, but like we exist in like harmony. I feel like we thrive so well together, and we John and I have big personalities, like individual as people, and coming together. I think people may expect that to be like our downfall, but it's actually what makes us thrive together.
Yeah. Well, let me tell you, there if you can find the right. Because for me, like friendships, when it comes to me to like good friendships, I can't be with a weak. I just listen because I'm
and podcast is not for the weak either.
I'm so strong with who I am, what I do, how I bring it.
Correct.
I'm telling you, there's just been folks. There's folks who I don't even. I just always kind of bring this up. But there's just folks who I don't even like speak to anymore. But just because they're not around anymore in the circles or whatnot. But like, the thing I miss most about them, is how direct we were with each other, like just match made. So I never had to worry about that I offended somebody and they didn't tell me or something like that. She not that I would be doing that, but she would actually get me more about my politics and being more around respectability and all these other things or whatever. And mind you, I didn't even think I was really given that all the time. You know what I'm saying? Yes, I pulled my Michelle Obama out of my bag.
Right.
And now it's a little bit of Beyonce, Kelly Rowland point, with the blonde going on.
Okay.
But
okay.
so I'm pulling a little bit something different. But like I'm still
just like you were just saying, people who can match your politic and match who you are. Yeah.
Absolutely. So it's really good because how do you keep each other? How does that flow go? You say you both kind of write it together, but how would you describe that flow that you have with each other from episode to episode?
Ooh, okay. I would love to
take
a bite first. So I think, one, it depends on if it's a solo show or if it's a guest. We have guests on the show every other episode typically, and as Sean shared, we take responsibility, take terms of who do we try to book and who might we know. In most cases, John knows the folks that we're bringing on, and John knows them more personally, and I may know them like by their work. And so really, like John and I, we have a group chat with our producer. We text all the time. We text every day in that group chat. We text each other every day.
We really do.
We're always asking each other what ideas do we have for the show. I mean, we're 111 episodes deep right now, which is a lot of content, right? That's an hour and a half each episode. We're like 100 something hours of conversation made, both with and without others. And so our flow is that we constantly ask each other the things in which we are trying to talk about or reach. Each person has a really unique perspective that we can pull out. Also for ourselves, we know that there are experiences that we have to go through as Black Fat Femmes, but also how do we keep it current, right? How we keep it like positioned to now. So what do we see in our world in terms of politics, in terms of culture aspects, in terms of like global news and wars? How do we talk about this through a lens of being BFFs? I think this also between John and I, we have like you made a comment about like your friend came at you a little bit for respectability politics. I feel like with John and I, like we don't like we can say anything to each other. Like we like. Sometimes I'm like, girl, let me like what I'm about to say is not gonna be PC. Let me just like rough draft it real quick.
Right. Absolutely.
Let me get it out there real quick so I can just say it, and then we can figure out how to say it better. And like we have all the space for that. There's no judgment. Like because sometimes like to be someone who's mindful, right? Like it takes a lot of work. And so there are some times where you're like, girl, I just need like a person in a space to just like be
messy, be a human,
be messy for a moment with. And so so like, when we're messy, we have our moment, and then we say, okay, girl, let's pick it up and get this shit done. I think it works really well for us.
Yeah. To your question, Angelica, I would also say too, I think there's a level of and I think that's what also makes the show so organic is that there's no, I don't even say we don't have a competition. There's no competition clause in our friendship and in our relationship. Right. And so it's not me trying, like initially when I pitched this to Jordan, it was never, and I've said this, and I will literally until iHeart says, okay, I'm pulling the plug, I will never say it's my show, because it's not my show. Right. I have said since day one, it's our show. And when I say our show, what I mean by that is your thoughts and your opinions and your feelings matter just as much. I don't care that I'm the person that pitched it and landed it to iHeart and to Toyota. Fantastic, right? I'm the conduit who was able to help that happen. But I always say Black Fat Femme is not my show. It is our show. And so
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it takes a team. And I've even learned to do that myself. Like, listen, there's a lot that I have done. Yeah. And am doing and continue to do for me to say this is my damn show. Right. But there is an acknowledgement when I say, there's a lot of times when I even just, again, consciously remind myself to say our, because I'm not doing it by myself. I have people that are helping me, and as small as that team might be, it is more than me that is doing that. Right. Talk to me about, in this current space right now, being black, fat, or femme, or all of the above. Yeah. And having to, I feel like we're all on social media. I mean, I know that there are the few out there that are not, but when you are talking about doing anything in the entertainment business, in media, and, then you have to have social media. Yeah. First of all, I'll ask you this personally, and then I'll ask you like in the broader sense of things. But, how do you maintain your mental health in a space that is so anti-Black, that is so anti-fat, that is so anti-femme?
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So, I'm gonna take every opportunity I can to plug it. I talk about this in my book, which you can pre-order on Amazon. Yes. Black Fat Femme. If you search that on Amazon, it will come up. But I talk about this, and it's not even just to say, I will say that the show and the book, they kind of were created, at the same time, right? I wrote my proposal and I sold the show at the same time. And so very much there's a lot of interwovenness of that. But what I will say is recognizing that a lot of people don't know how to engage us because they've never had to. or giving people the grace. You know, in one of the chapters that I talk about, you know, I specifically talk about the relationship I have with my mother and me having to give my mother grace. I had to also recognize too, like while I was still mad at her for some of the things that she said and she did to me, there's still that piece that had to recognize she never experienced a queer baby before, right?
Right.
She's never had to interact with a queer person before. And so there's a lot of grace that I give people, right? So, and I always like to tell people there's a fine line between people who are trying to understand you and walking on eggshells and may mess up versus the people who intentionally want to hurt you and harm you. Those are the people that I don't engage at all. But what I will say is that there are a lot of people who are really, and so that's really what Black Fat Femme is. It's like, come into our world, get a taste, you know, come to our dinner party, right, honey? You know, y'all used to going over there to eat with the white folks. Come on over here to these Black Fat Femme, the Black Fat Femme space, and actually get a meal, honey, because I know you're hungry. You know, and a lot of Hollywood parties, you're just hungry because everybody's eating hors d'oeuvres and girl, can we cuss? Bitch, grab you a plate. You know what I mean? Like that's really what our show is to grab you a plate, come as you are, and be who you are. And so, like I said, I think there's a lot of, like, even last week's episode, I'm gonna be transparent. If you listen to our last episode, me and Joho, it was a good text chain of us going back and forth about, do we let this show out the gate, or is this a show that we need to put behind the Patreon wall? Because, you know, there's a lot of, there's just so much that can happen, right, with you putting yourself out there.
Of course.
And so I say all of that to say, I think there's a lot of me saying, like, I think empathy is really, you know, one thing I will say, and it could be related, may not, if there's anything I've truly learned from working with Joho, is to be a more empathetic person, to be a much more considerate person, because I'm gonna say this, Angelica, because I feel like we're friends and we can say that. Me and you, we're good at chopping people's necks off. That like our caliber.
And I don't mean to, but listen.
No, but but again, you also have to recognize it's our lived experience, right?
Absolutely.
Our lived experience is we gotta protect us because nobody else will. And so I've learned.
Sometimes you gotta pop out and show ninjas.
You know,
sometimes you do gotta pop out and show ninja.
Yeah. And you do. And so I say that to say, like, I've recognized that there are moments where people have said things. There are people who post things. There are people who try to come for us or say terrible things about the work we're doing. Yeah. And I just go, you know, they ain't got nothing to do with us. That has everything to do with the work they need to do over there.
Absolutely.
But all that to be said, I think, you know, my biggest thing is just handling it with a lot of empathy, a lot of prayer, and a lot of cookies.
How do you handle it, Joho?
Well, you know, Angelica, I want to say I wish I could take a page from your book, because I really was really inspired by the way in which you let people know, hey, I love you. I'm going to unfollow you. I actually don't need this energy type of my life, right? Like, I really appreciate that, and I know, probably people saw it and was like, that is really like you know, like,
some people were very
thing to do.
It was some people. I got a lot of love. Lot of love, and because people, I think a lot of people. I got so many messages from people that were saying, I need to unfollow some people that I'm just that I'm following just for no reason, or that you know. And I'm just following out obligation, or, you know, this, that, and the third. And, you know, I really had to, because when you are, quote unquote, a celebrity, and you end up following a lot of people and making these things, and even meeting fans sometimes, and fans are like, oh, you follow me, and it's like, sure, but I don't know necessarily why I'm following you. I don't know, you know, that sort of situation. But what I realized is that, and, you know, we can unpack this as well, is that in celebrity culture, I feel like this is an opportunity, as so many things are in and of themselves that we find challenging. And so, like, celebrity culture is, I think, has been a time for us to reflect on who and what we celebrate.
And
why we celebrate them. And what I've realized is that being a Black trans woman, I am typically of an identity that is not celebrated.
Yeah, that's real.
And so I've tried to use my celebrity as much as possible to kind of like share that vibe with the rest of the community, share the love with the rest of the community, make people feel what they feel for Candy, what they feel for everyday trans people in their own communities.
Yeah.
But what I found through my experience of becoming famous is that people saw my celebrity as a currency and one that they could use to get to the next big thing.
Yep.
And so, and they didn't, many times there are people who didn't even value me or didn't even care about what I was doing. I was just famous. You know, it's like being outside, you know, walking past somewhere and somebody's taking a picture with me and somebody else who does it is watching that happen and watching that person be a fan, sees that I'm famous and all of a sudden now wants to take a picture. Only they don't know who I am, what show I was on. They don't watch none, but they was like, oh my God, you're famous. Let me take a picture with you. So when I realized that that was kind of the vibe of things and that people that I thought, because I was in people's comments, when people release songs, I'm blasting it from my car and doing reels, or I'm in the comments of all, you know, I was just doing so much.
Yeah.
And then when I realized I wasn't getting that same, you know, energy back, what it came down to was like, okay, cool. No, wait, this is totally cool. Follow the celebrity profile if you want to, totally get it. But I'm going to pull back on all those things right here and really do it in a way where, like, right now I can say, and I'll just say in this space, that the people that I am following right now is a strategic situation right now, because I'm dropping some seeds and hints about some things that I'm working on.
Okay.
So that's why that is, you know, that is right now. But, you know, I have Miss Ross Inc., I have Miss Ross Music, I have this podcast. Between those 3 accounts and Instagram accounts, on the podcast, we talking about all kind of things, from the funny to the serious to, you know, things that people need to know about that they don't know about yet, or whatever the case is. The music is music, and not just in a way of me feeling like I'm Deborah Cox and Whitney Houston and living in my own world, but I'm coming from a place of being an independent musician, making my own things happen from my own studio. And so I have community with other musicians and folks like that. You know, and with Miss Ross Inc., it's the same thing with business and, you know, various things. And so on those platforms, because they're not in the same realm as my celebrity profile, I'm able to actually see people that I follow and that follow me and engage. It actually shows me a different experience than what I get on my celebrity profile. So what I end up doing is whatever I do get to see on those profiles, I then send it to my celebrity profile in my DM so that I can share and still use my platform to promote the people that I'm still. Absolutely. But I'm like tricking Meta, because Meta won't let me talk about Free Palestine. It won't let me do, you know, certain things. It's kind of limited. So I'm trying to outsmart the system and moving that. And that's why, you know, I redirected that. And that was one thing for my mental health, you know, that I was able to, because I was able to realize who was there just for the celebrity and who was really willing to follow me and engage still and support.
If I can, go ahead.
Yeah, please.
I was just say, you know, you made a point about no one wanting to celebrate like you as a Black trans woman, and no one wants to celebrate Black trans identity. And I think all beyond that, like, no one wants to celebrate, but everyone wants to commodify and exploit it. And so I think what you did is such a beautifully intentional way of saying, I actually refuse for you to access my energy in that way, and I'm going to wield my energy the way that I want to wield it, in the way that I want to protect my peace. Like, protecting your peace is not easy. It is hard. It costs you friendships. It costs you money sometimes. Like, it is expensive in every way, and is also worth it to do. And so when you ask me how I protect my mental health, I think I also am mindful of who the folks I'm following that actually like adds to my experience online. And also remind myself, like, sometimes everything online, that shit does not matter. Like, there really does not matter. There are things that matter. There are things that do matter, and like, especially as they relate to really real consequences and real issues in our world. But there are so many things that happen online that I'm like, this does not matter. And I'd rather focus on how I present myself in person, because I'm gonna tell you, I get death threats every day. I get death threats for being fat, for being black, for being Jewish, for being queer, for being all the above. Like, there's always someone in my DM saying, I hope you die. I can't wait to see you on the street and knock you out. Like, just all these wild things. And there are times where I'm like, wow, like, does this affect me or scare me? And I think I remind myself, one, I know that like around my people who I surround myself with, I'm safe. The people that I have in my life, I know that I'm safe with them. I know that they'll ride for me. I know that they'll fight for me. Hopefully we don't have to fight, because I don't believe in fighting. I don't believe in fighting, but I do believe in as my dad would say, ending some shit. Like,
I know that's right.
But I will end something real quick.
Listen,
okay.
You may start it, but I'm going
to finish it.
I'm going to end it.
That's how it goes. That's how it goes.
You can start it if you want, but I will end it.
And you were going to say also, Dr. John Paul.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say to both of your points. I think I feel this so much, and I was going to say, because I think people think, that conversation around celebrity is touchy, but it's real. Because what I will say is that there are so many people who think just because you're following folks, so my point was to I think, is this Chaperone? Is that her name? Chaperone.
Yes.
Okay.
The singer, right?
The singer. Yeah. To her point, this idea of how people think just because they follow you and that they quote unquote support you, that they have access to you. And I want to say, like, I think that for me, I had that before the pandemic. I was very much in that mind of like, oh, I want to be in it with folks. I want to be with the dolls. That was where my mind was. I want to be with the dolls. I want to be one of the girls. And I shake my shoulders that way because that's what it felt like. And then after the pandemic, when the world started opening back up, I started recognizing that so much of this shit is smoke and mirrors. And a lot of us are dealing with a lot of BS that no one wants us to talk about. And even for me, right? I know I don't have your platform, Angelica. I don't have TS's platform. I don't have Dominique Morgan's platform. There are a lot of girls that I follow that I know and love personally that I don't have their platform. But a friend of mine, I'll leave them nameless, but like something happened with a recent friend of mine who is in the industry and is very famous right now, and has a book coming out and has a show coming out and has a very, very popular podcast. And, I had texted her about something randomly yesterday, and she called me in tears, talking about what situation she's currently in. And so that's the stuff, you know what I mean, that I think people remiss when they talk about celebrity. And I mean, I didn't want this whole conversation to turn into that, but I definitely, but
we're talking about mental health, and it's all included. Yeah.
I will say that with the even with the notoriety, right? Like, I'll say this, like, people know my show, people know who I am and what I do. And there are some days where I have to tell myself, girl, this person is about to come up to you. Like, I can see it in their face. They're going to come up to me because they follow me on social, or because they've seen me on Netflix, or they know the show, or they've seen me on someone else's show. And I have to turn on this energy that I don't oftentimes have,
right.
And so I think a lot
You're not
about
always
that.
Wanting to perform.
No, I just want to get my groceries. Like, I'm hungry.
Facts.
Leave me alone.
I'm hungry. But my biggest pet.
Go ahead. Yeah.
Saying, but my biggest pet peeve is when someone meets one of us and they're like, since seeing you online, I feel like you and I would be best friends.
No, we
would not. We would not. I'm so sorry. We actually would not be best friends. I have no idea who you are. Like, I knew John. I think John and I do great jobs. I think there are folks who present themselves differently online than they do in person. And I think John and I are two people who don't do that.
I'm glad that I was going to say, knowing you both, but knowing Dr. John Paul for as long as I have, like, I mean, we can have a certain kiki, behind the scenes, just saying things that, we don't have. But we are still the same people.
Mm-hmm.
And what I've found, especially when I was like in my illness and dating men, well, what I found was that, because it was really, it had a strong hold on me. Yeah, it had a strong hold on me. But through prayer and lots of chanting Nam Myoho Renge Kyo,
I love that.
I have been healed. But
please, yes.
But during those times, I would meet these men, and wow, I mean, let me just tell you. First of all, I think obviously baked into probably my experience of dealing with men who probably wouldn't publicly say that they're dating a trans woman.
Yep.
I hit some very cis heteronormative marks for folks when I'm just, sitting here wash face with no makeup on and, just root realness with my blonde hair and things like that. Basically I've had these, guys who are able to live this sort of double thing, but it went beyond that for me. I would see like from their Instagram presence or what they were selling to who they were. It was like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. And they were subscribing. And I now know so many people who have created online personas and different things, but that's not who they are.
Nope.
I mean, there's even like, of course you've got folks like, remember Joanne the Scammer, and you've got, I think even other folks who are great, comedians, but because they have because how they introduced themselves to us was this persona. And then you meet the real person, and then there's this sort of this disconnect. For me, I've had to, it's not been easy, and I've had some very tough phone calls with friends and people who I've had to say, I do love you and I do support you, but I'm just recognizing that we are not friends in the ways in which you are willing to stand with me in any kind of way.
That's real.
Like I could get arrested here in Georgia for protesting, and, standing up and saying all the things. And, people, I've been socially lynched, in a sense of like having met basically I'm a bona fide quote unquote celebrity, but Meta has got it twisted that they think that they control the value of my celebrity through their platform because capitalism and corporations look at those metrics when they are trying to make brand deals and different things. And if you're getting certain engagement, and if I'm no longer getting that engagement, if my account's being suppressed due to, speaking up for a genocide across the world and all the things, then, and as, Valerie Spencer, a Black trans woman, pulled me aside, she was like, doing things the way that you're doing them, you're going to make yourself invisible to the community that needs to see you. And so that is why I've had to recalculate. And I've had to remove things where it's like, I'm still the same person. I'm still saying the same things, but I'm realizing there are limitations that are coded into the fabric of the way things are, not only on Meta, but in the policies and the way that we operate things here in America.
So real. So
for me, I'm having to stand firm in the ways that I redefine the ways that I engage. When we talk about engagement, when we talk about, views and all of that, taking responsibility for all of that, that means that I'm very intentional. That's why I'm having you both into this space, because I'm very intentional about the voices that I want to uplift and the platforms that I want to share, because this ain't just a one-off here. This is not somebody. I'm continually invested in seeing your success. There's other things that I can't really talk about right now that I know.
We know. We're here.
We're here. Into your ear a while ago.
Come October, we got work to do.
Exactly.
We are here.
Talk about some
Trust
things.
Me. I know. But come October, I'm ready to work. But I got you.
Absolutely. In this space where social media co-ops terms like friend in a thing like friend request, or in things like following, when I had to realize, wait a minute, is this someone that I need to, should be, or even want to follow? And so how have you,
my God,
how have you curated your online and offline space to support your mental health?
I will say this. I was thinking about what you're saying right now about following and thing. And I remember there were years ago when I would follow people and I would mute them so it wouldn't be weird when I met them in person. But now I've gotten to the place that if I feel like I need to mute somebody, then I do a soft
Go
lock.
ahead now. Yeah.
And I think for me, it's like, if that means I need to mute you, that means that something that you're saying or something you're doing is bothering my spirit. And being okay with that, being okay with the idea that I may run into them on the streets at an event and it may be weird. Right. But at the end of the day,
you can say that damn meta.
Yeah, it may be.
I don't know what happened.
That wasn't me. I promise it wasn't me.
Showing me nothing, girl.
Better than to my account and unfollow everybody from my bad.
I always say not everybody's for everybody, and I think that's the thing that I find to be value. 2024 has taught me that, and I'll say that up front and be very transparent. Going into 2024, I had two people that I thought, and I was going to say friends, and I'm glad I said people because they're not my friends anymore. But I had two people that I thought I was really cool with, out of the blue, randomly say, "Hey, John, I don't think we can be friends anymore." And it was a lot for me to process. But now going in, we're in the latter part of the year, and also I'm 6 months out of therapy. I can say, like, I understand that for them, whatever I was radiating, whatever I was doing, whatever I may not have been doing, whatever the case may be, to them they didn't want me as their friend, and that's okay. And I think that's the thing we have to learn, is that I think social media has a way of making us feel like we have to engage everything. We have to engage everyone. And I'll be transparent in saying there are people who probably feel like I should be more vocal about what's happening over in Palestine. And I've said this, and I will continue to keep saying this. The reason why I keep my fat ass quiet is because I don't feel like I have enough knowledge or enough range to be able to have that conversation. Now, if you want to get in and you want to spar with me around AB 1955, or you want to talk about, the anti-trans bills that are being, I got you. I can jump in the ring, right?
Absolutely.
But not
I think a lot of people need to kind of be in that space of, because it's okay.
There are
it's
people,
okay to say I don't know.
It's not even I don't know. There are a lot of people who get it and are going to give you the right information. And I am not, and I'm just going to say this, I don't have the energy, or I don't have the capacity at this time in my life to do all of the work I need to do to be that informed on this conversation. And that's the real of it. Right.
Absolutely. Well, I'm gonna tell you this though. One thing that changed my world on this whole thing, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but it's a documentary called Israelism. Have you seen it?
I was gonna say I was listening to the part 2 today of your interview with them.
Because he identified. They identify as trans. Aaron Axelman was one of the co-directors, and then the other co-director is this really cute, pretty Jewish girl, that seems like she ain't gonna start no problems, and she is causing
the system down.
She is out here wreaking havoc with this documentary, and not in all the best ways, because
I know
what you're seeing is Jewish people who are being kind of ripped apart and put back together again, because the lies that they've been told about about history and all these things, that having that ripped away, but then being reunited with their humanity, that sees the humanity in other people, that doesn't create these narratives of children of darkness and all these different things that kind of happen. So for me, it was always very complicated, and I never knew enough, and then when it clicked. When it clicked, and that's why I've been the way that I've been, because it fucking clicked like click, but like it clicked like girl,
I got it. But what I will say, and it's not that I'm being intentionally obtuse about it. What I'm saying is, it's not that I don't. Me and Joho have had these conversations, and there are things that Joho continues to keep walking me through about me fully being able to understand it. My thing has been, not everybody needs to be on the platform taking up space talking about it.
Right.
Yes. So my biggest thing is this: I want all of us free, and we are.
That's
and I'm going to
and
be
that's
free,
the thing, and that's what
I'm
the
going to
stand
get
on.
us free, right?
It's really standing on saying that
yes,
I want us all to experience
all of us to be free.
Freedom and liberation.
However, it's the same way that I get a little perturbed when cisgender, non-queer people try to speak up for queer people. It's like, yo, that's a privilege, right? And so that is a part of my privilege to say, I got the Black struggle right here. I'm gonna go ahead and go speak about the Black struggle. I can also talk about what's happening over there in Palestine too. But my thing is that I don't want to take away from my Palestinian brothers, sisters, ladies, and everyone.
Well, you know what? I think a way to not, but you know what? I think a way to not take away is a way, and this is where I think this is work that I think all of us at all the intersections can do in order to rise all tides. I think it's to find the connection.
Amen.
So that it's not about me talking on your behalf. It's about understanding that
all this shit is connected.
Yeah, and here in America, I'm trying to pay for my student loans. I'm trying to pay for housing that is continually inflating, or whatever. I am trying to continue to find work in a environment that is rolling back DEI protections that are making it hard to fund minority businesses with the Supreme Court cracking down on things like the Fearless Fund.
I saw that.
Being people who work and educate and consult in education and corporate spaces on equity and inclusion, and being in this environment when those things are being pulled back, having our bodily autonomy taken away from us, not having, money for the basic rights and things in healthcare here. And then you're telling me that all the money and taxes that I pay are going to another bitch household somewhere else outside this country. Like it's like I was telling people, I was like, it literally is like being in a relationship with a husband who keeps telling you, I ain't got the money for the mortgage or for the kids' college tuition or for groceries, but is sending another bitch overseas a bunch of money because she's showing him her titties on Zoom. On Zoom, exactly.
Oh, yes, but I hear.
But you understand the correlation.
I get it.
So I'm saying just understanding the connection of what is allowed. Not only on those children over there, but on our children on those college campuses who are trying to use their right to protest, which again is being taken away in a couple states here in the United States. You have cop cities being built and who are being trained by the IDF. So some of the toxic chemicals that we've seen introduced lately into some of the protests and things like that are coming from those strategies. So it's just like, finding the way, you can almost find a way to talk about those things without being a spokesperson for those causes, is saying that I want to live in a world, right, where these things, instead of us spending money on war and on bombs and on things, that we spend money on community solutions, on not having to have women and children, working in the most worst conditions so that we can have the best technology, so it's, and here I be, on my things, but Joho, I think is very interesting. How have you, as sitting in the intersections that you've been sitting in, how have you been dealing, especially with your mental health and also having a platform, but also finding your place in saying or not saying, and with your identity, like how have you been dealing in this space?
Okay, so this is, Angelica, you asked me a question that I've been thinking about for a long time. I mean, for a long, long time, since October 7th, since before October 7th, because my work that I do 9 to 5 focuses on Jews of color. And so the work that I do focuses on helping resource and support Jews of color around around the U.S. And so I mean, like just to be more direct, since October 7th, and what's happening in Palestine, Gaza, it affects Jews of color way differently than it affects white Jewish folks, and also differently than it affects non-Jewish people of color as well too, because there's this intersection of Jews of color who some are anti-Zionists and some who are Zionists, and it's an interesting thing to work in that space and to be like, wow. like my work is actually to hold both of these folks here, because my work is to support them and resource them, and the work they do. The work that they do, also the work that we do in fund, focuses on Jews of color that supports Jews of color, and so it's been interesting for me to have to I have to actually decenter myself, which is also I think is a really important lesson, right? Like I actually have to decenter myself because the way I articulate my lens of liberation in my job is saying, like my job is for you to feel free to do whatever you want, no matter where I agree with it or not. It's to whatever you want, because that is what freedom looks like. I, as a Jewish person of color in this country, and then how I show up in my personal life is different.
Right, absolutely.
And I think also one thing I think about a lot is, and I think your question about how do I, what do I curate on my timeline and such, I think I once surround myself with people who carry, like I surround myself with people I follow people who really represent many different
perspectives and
fragments on liberation, on Zionism, on anti-Zionism, right? I will most likely never follow like a racist Republican. I'll probably never follow that type of person. But I think there are very real folks who do very real liberatory work in this way, and then don't do it in this way. And so to me, it's my duty to sit and understand them, because then when I show up at the protests, when I show up when community meetings between Jewish and Arab folks here in here in San Diego, I'm better able to talk about it. I'm better able to like to show up and be an actual advocate and accomplice in the work. I've really done away with the idea of allyship, and I've gone that from John. Like allyship is no longer important to me, and so it comes to the idea of curating my online space. I don't want to curate space with allies. Like allies are the people who will say, "I'll post a black square, I'll post a blue square, I'll share I'll share this little thing." The advocates are the ones who are say, I will hold your hand at the march. I'll march with you. But the accomplices are the ones who are saying, I will actually go in front of you at the protest, and I will take the bullet out to the head. Like I'll get arrested. And and I think John made a point about my empathy. My empathy that I think that I bring in isn't. I don't always expect people to be accomplice. I understand that it is dangerous to do that.
Not everybody has the capacity.
Exactly.
Right?
Like I know I put my life online just walking in my in my air sometimes, and I also know that like as a light-skinned black person and as a tall fat person, like most likely no one's gonna fuck with me. No one's gonna try to attack me on the streets, because I am a big tall dude who's also light-skinned. So I know. So how can I wear my privilege in that way, right? So I know I'm willing to put my life online in some ways. I don't expect everyone to do that for me, but I do expect a level of advocacy, like hold my hand, be with me there. And so I curate my time. I'm only having people who do that, and that's also how I manage my intersections. I think also to be queer at this time is interesting too, because there are so many queer folks, and there are so many queer Jewish folks. Like there are so many queer Jewish folks as well who are also grappling, right? Who are grappling with Gaza, grappling with Israel themselves as well too. And
I feel like the queer is the queer folks that are really also shaking the table the most.
Yes.
I think that I think for the longest time, whether it's been creating change or different, conferences that we've been over the past decade, I think a lot of queer people have been in this intersectional conversation for a while.
And it's the queer Gen Z's on. It's the queer Gen Z folks. Like these kids, and I want to be clear. Like I think also like the queer millennials, queer Gen Xers, and queer elders are ones who have led the work. But the Gen Z folks are ones that picked up these tools to fight, and they're shaking the table. They're saying fuck the table. They're building a new table, and so I think I also surround myself with people who are doing that work, and I take directive, right? Like I think also to a point of I may not be able to speak in some ways I want to because of what I do, but I can still take directive of where do I send my money. I'm also learning to, as a point of decentering myself, to take directives, right? So like while I'm able to say the things I want to say. And because of what I do, I also know, like, let me know who to follow to where, where to send money to, where can I send resources to? How can I check in with people who are on the ground, right? Who are actually experiencing this in Gaza, who are experiencing this in West Bank, who are experiencing this in Jerusalem? How do I check them and say, hey, how can I help you right now? Like, as you are doing the work yourself. And that's been was really, really special for me, because I know that's where I can find, like, my best lens of advocacy, and accomplish it is in doing that work.
I love what you sort of the separation too, that you talked about, like decentering yourself and, affirming that this is a free world. And in a free world that I believe in, you can believe and you can, do whatever you want with your life. And because, I saw some stuff recently too. I've been seeing some broken clocks on the internet. One of the broken clocks I refer to is Candace Owens. She is one of those broken clocks that is right about twice. I won't say a day, because that's a little bit too much.
I would say annually, she's right. She's right
annually.
Every 3 to 4 months.
Yes, absolutely.
Annually.
And so, because there, she would just sometimes, like, with the thing with Gaza or something like that, she would say something just about the children. Like, she would say something specific, about children shouldn't be bombed because of this and that. It was like a basic thing, and it's like, okay, so I'm here agreeing with Candace Owens. Okay, cool. But then I saw an interview that Candace Owens did with I think it was Ray J and Danielle. It was a trans woman. I think she's a Latinx trans woman, but kind of white passing. I think she's actually dating LeBron. I mean, not LeBron James.
I was like, LeBron James.
Was Kourtney Kardashian? I mean, not Kourtney. Yeah, Kourtney Kardashian's ex-husband.
His ex, yeah.
Her ex.
Her ex.
Lamar.
Sorry, yeah.
Lamar, yeah.
Lamar.
I think she's yes.
I was like,
I saw an interview of Candace Owens interviewing Ray J and this trans woman talk about trans stuff, and just really being quite disrespectful, obviously, as Candace Owens does, and is saying, well, I don't think it's disrespectful to say this and say that and say this and say that, and I think that we should be careful with our words and what we say and do. However, I don't know where this lesson needs to be taught. I don't know if it needs to be taught in grade school. I don't know if it needs to be taught on a playground. I don't know if it needs to be taught just as an adult and you understand the responsibilities of being an adult and taking responsibility for your actions. But this is what I feel. You want to call trans women men? Baby, go right ahead. You want to call trans men women and this, that, and deranged and sick and, baby, go at it. Because what I think I needed folks who were laughing at some of Dave Chappelle's jokes to realize is that eventually you're going to look up and you're going to be surrounded by people that you don't want to be surrounded by, that you find out that you don't actually agree with all the bigotry and hatred and negativity and xenophobia and all the other things that people subscribe to. But because you want to hold on to this privilege of being able to oppress or make jokes about or, call people out of their names or treat women a certain way or what have you. Because again, there are circles of men who are affirmed in treating women the way they treat women and continue to do so. And they're celebrated and celebrities and what have you. They can continue to do that. But then you've seen a lot of stories come up lately about the mental health of men lately who are not having sex as much, who are not in relationships as much because the women have said, it's not given what I needed to give. So I think that the consequence in Buddhism, we focus on cause and effect. So it's basically, we say, if you do this, this could, might, or will happen. Cause and effect. And so I know that's a dangerous place to be because, it's like a place of almost saying and affirming people to be mean and do whatever they want to do. But I think that I don't know if there's some natural order to that, you know, a natural order to people getting tired of being around certain things and wanting to grow out of that. You know, one of the things that I'm going to be in my winter circle group that I do and sort of just with my Buddhist practice, you know, every week I'm just getting into this place where I'm like, okay, I get it now. Okay. So whatever I'm studying in my Buddhist thing, that's great for me and my Buddhist group, but also there's these like seeds and elements that are very valuable and I think needed for the greater population. And so, you know, one of those things that we're talking about is just that there is no good in isolation of evil. And just saying that, you know, it's kind of the yin and yang of life, but that, you know, it's the call of all of us, I think, in all the work and the different ways that we do things.
Yeah.
To whether it's fat phobia, whether it's femphobia, whether it's transphobia, whether it's racism, all of the different things that might be seeds of evil or spin-offs of evil doings or behavior or thoughts. Mm-hmm. That there is no good in isolation of evil, but it's so much so that evil can be turned into good. But what they say is that, like, if we just allow evil things, people, thoughts to just run their course, like X, like Twitter, just free for all.
Yeah.
Those things are not going to just automatically, magically turn into goodwill and good things.
Right.
It's only by the yin and yang happening of those things coming out or doing, and then people being willing to challenge that evil.
Right.
And to challenge those notions and to help people change and evolve past those things, and therefore transmitting that evil into good, you know. But it's like, I think that can be done in so many different ways. And I think that's where sometimes we get lost in the work and what the work looks like, you know, what the response looks like. When you are Black, fat, femme, or trans, or any of the above, sometimes the revolution is just being willing to not only walk out your front door as you are, but to then actually amplify yourself, your platform, your voice, or anything like that. How dare you? Did you expect the response of your pre-orders so quickly? Like I've been seeing just like automatically, like you're in the top numbers. Like I shared it, but I can't remember. Yeah. Like what share with the people the
Damn. Oh gosh, it struck a chord, and I got emotional about it. I have not gotten emotional about any of this. It's so weird. No, I honestly don't. I never expected any of this, to be honest. You know, when I started doing this in 2014, when I was starting to do this, right, it was this. I want to make a name for myself. I want folks to know my story, or I want folks to be able to see a Black fat femme person like winning, because that's where this came from. It came it came from me working in education, feeling so silenced in a lot of ways, and meeting students and meeting youth and meeting people who were looking at me and saying, I wish I would have had you when I was this age, or I wish I would have had your story when I was that age, or I wish I would have known you 2 or 3 years ago. That would have helped me, you know, trigger warning. That would have helped me not have had my second or third, you know, suicide attempt, right? Like those were the stories that I was getting in 2012, 2013, 2014. And so when I started kind of branding, you know, DoctorJonPaul as a brand, and I hate saying it that way, but that's the only way we can really talk about it, right?
Absolutely, because you're talking about you meeting capitalism and having to like use those means to amplify what you're doing. Like it's
and so it's gross, right? It is really gross. And I know people, you know, shout out to Dr. Jen Jackson, who has said, I'm not interested in following brands. I'm not interested in, I respect that. But what I'm saying is when you are also
somebody, like you said, who is not very different from
Yeah.
You're the same on and off.
Right. And so I was really just trying to say, I want to be a voice, and I want people to be able to know what that voice is and where that voice is coming from. Mm-hmm. And so I'm going to share my stories authentically, so that way, and we're just going to call it Dr. John. When people say Dr. John Paul, I want people to know that is a storyteller who is speaking their truth and their way. Period. Mm-hmm. That was literally what that was. And so then when all of the stuff started taking off, and I'll say like even 2017, 2018, when people were calling me in to do speaking engagements, and when I was, keynoting, the biggest keynote I've ever done was a 15,000 people conference, right? I never thought that I would be in, I forget what city I was in. I think I was actually...
You was like moderating conversations with me on stage and stuff.
I'm moderating, right? I'm looking at celebrities who know my name. Like I'll never forget, like one of my moments where I was like, this shit is real. Like I walked into a room and Amber Ruffin knew who I was. Yeah. And she was like, Dr. John Paul, it's so good to see you. And I just was real. Like, the hell, like this woman that I watch, that I love, knows who I am. Absolutely. Right? T.S. Madison is addressing me, right? Like there have been moments in the last year or two that have been so affirming. Me and T.S. Madison being seatmates in first class together. Like, come on now.
Isn't that a lovely affirmation from the universe?
Right,
sometimes?
Like looking around being like, I'm in the same space, flying in she's sitting a row over from me in first class, right? And we're going to the same place. We're going to LAX.
Absolutely.
And so it's,
but I think it's like a reflection though too, because I'm sure that, I'm maybe she's gotten used to it by now, but I think that, I've heard T.S. Madison many times talking the same way of like, knowing that she comes from certain places and is saying, bitch, I'm sitting up here in first class with you too, Dr. John Paul.
Yeah.
Love you, girl. But yes, I'm sitting here with you too.
And the love is real. She texts me. We have conversations. We kiki when we're in spaces together. And so it's nice. But I say all of that to say, I think for me, when you asked, did I ever envision this? Yes and no. I want to say yes and no. There was a part of me that knew it was going to be hard, that knew that it would also be hard to bring people on. And that's the thing I constantly keep trying to tell people, that this shit is not just for me. I'm not doing this for me. My team, most of my team is Black and queer in some capacity, right? My agent is a Black queer woman. My podcast host, the person who edits my podcast, is Black and queer. Like I'm always trying to put someone else on with the platform I get. And that's just who I am through and through. I'm going to always look out for my people, but I definitely will say, I think for me, the biggest, when you ask about the book, and I'm really doing my best not to like bawl right now. I don't know why I'm so emotional about it. It's something that really, really, really like, it's just affirming. That's really the only word
you've done the work. Thank you. Like, that's the other thing is like, as someone who, I've written my book. I have not published it or released it. And I think, I'm even going through it, and I had a situation with Audible, and that just changed, but yes, and I'm into the now stage of kind of like, since I've had the time of refreshing it, so that when it, now that it has some time since the first manuscript, that I'm able to, re-up it, and just doing that work, organizing, editing, and obviously just writing the whole thing, but also, just your studies, your lived experience, all the things, and that's why it's having the response I think that it is because so many people are seeing a book that has been needed, that has been missing in the market. Like you just don't see a lot of things like this hitting those intersections. Like even when I see like folks like Feminista Jones, for instance, like she has her book, Reclaiming Our Spaces. And, realizing when I read the book that I'm one of the people amongst bell hooks and whatever that she's talking about and referencing, it's like you don't always have these folks and voices that are amplified who are speaking intersectionally like this. You have folks who are preaching the cis, especially in Black spaces. You have folks that are preaching cis heteronormativity. before I let you go, what was it like on the was it Essence Fest that you were just?
Fest, yeah.
What was it like being on the Essence Fest stage and being in that space? Because I know that like even Essence Fest and that space has continually been trying to do work at making that space more inclusive. And we know there's many people that we are allies with and that are there, but we know that maybe structurally they haven't always been ready for us on the main stage.
Yeah, Essence Fest, it was fun, but it's also still very much, it's still very cis. It's very cis head.
Yeah,
and so
patriarchal.
I think, so it's always interesting to see how people take you in when they see you in your authenticity and you walk into a room and you like, hey girl. It's always interesting. But what I will say is, what's been really affirming, what continues to be affirming, is the moments when someone. So I'll say this. So I actually, while I was out there, I went out to lunch. I was getting something to eat with someone who was in the program I was in with, and again, someone came up to me and they were like, "Oh, Dr. JonPaul, I know who you are and I follow you on social. It's so nice to see you." It was another queer baby, but it was one of those moments of like, you could just tell they were just grateful to be at Essence Fest and to see me there. It wasn't even about the celebrity. It wasn't even about and I feel that all the time. I feel that so much when you go into a space and you can just tell that someone is just so thankful that someone like you is there. Yeah. And I think that's the reason why I'm so grateful for Black Fat Femme. That's why I'm so grateful for the book. I'm so grateful for my friendship with Joho. We're going into spaces and we're reminding people that it's okay for them to be who they are in a world that is still, and that's what I think baffles me more than anything. We're in 2024,
baby,
and we are still living like it's 1952.
Well, and we use we use that "we" word lightly because we really mean some of y'all. Because right. We still living our lives
over here. Yes. Over here. What I'm saying
you know that prophecy some of y'all spoke over the lives of gay people that you only gonna be. Listen, some of us we living pretty well. It's all right.
Honey, my bills are paid and my bills are paid. Yeah, I am paid and my bills are paid. I will say that, but what I'm saying is, I look around and I'm like, this antiquated, old ass thought process around identity and experience and lived experience. It's like, let it go, girl. We got to let it go. But I say all of that to say, it just, I think that's what Essence Fest did for me, was that it's those little moments. It's not even about, like I said, it's really not about the stage. It's not about being in the room with, I'm an influencer, I'm doing that. No, all of that can go out the door. For me, it's those moments when somebody sees me and I see them. And I even talk, like I said, there's a moment in my book where I write about that. There was an experience me and my partner had at Disneyland a couple of years ago. A little kid, I could see his face light up when he saw me and my partner together. He like looked at us and he smiled. Little black boy. And I hold that story and I hold that energy and that experience in that moment. It lives in my head because I think to myself, if I had that when I was 6 or 7, right? If I had that at 12 or 13, I probably wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now, right? And I love what I'm doing. But what I'm saying is like, I think it's just, I dream of, when I set out to do this, my dream has always been to make someone else's life easier. And I'm so grateful that me and Joho can do that every week.
Well, you do. And it's just such an organic, back and forth between you two on the podcast. I love the podcast. Before we go, with no opportunity wasted and now, and just the concept that we've been talking about, whether it's, from mental health, to sort of, being your own sort of cheerleader or what have you, for the folks that are listening right now that might be, struggling with the challenges in being Black in America, or being femme in America, or being, fat in America, in a space that is anti all of the things. And right now, they need something right now in this moment to feel something different, to improve, whether it's improve their mental health, hear some different words. what would you give folks in this moment to say, this is what you can do right now?
I have a few answers, if that's okay. And I also, just in the spirit of now, no opportunity wasted, I also want to take a moment to also like clarify my earlier statement as well too. Like,
yes.
You asked me about, about curing, because I want to be really clear in saying that when I say like to decenter myself, I don't mean it through a lens, like I don't mean it through a lens of being dispassionate. I don't mean it through a lens of like of neutrality. Like I want to be really clear. Like, it's not through a lens of neutrality. It's really through a lens of knowing the best ways in which you can show up, and then will show up excellently. Because I think I want to be really clear. There are times where people, if I can't show up in my fullest self, then I won't be able to actually do the work that I want to do and help people I want to help. And so I want to be clear on that, of like being the ways in which you show up. And I really think a lot about when we had you on our show, Angelica, the idea of I can love you, but I can love you, but I don't trust you. And like having discernment to say, I love you, and I'm here for you, and I will fight for your freedom, but I don't trust you to fight for mine. And having discernment of the ways in which I actually can find the people who fight with me for that. So I want to take a moment to say that. Yeah. I think what comes for people, advice I could give. One thing I'm working on with my coach right now, I've been seeing this coach for work, is recognizing that we shrink ourselves to not be seen, but people already see us. People, as soon as we leave out, like I for me as a BFF, as a Black Fat Femme, as a BFF who rocks nails, who wears heels sometimes, who's fluid in presentation, the world sees me the second I step out of my house. Yeah. So I actually should not be afraid of being seen, because I'm meant to be seen. And so for BFFs, for Black folks, fat folks, queer folks, and all the those intersection of all in between, if you're worrying about being seen, if you're in a state that has policies that makes you feel safe to be seen, know that you're meant to be seen. And I mean, if you're anywhere you're meant to be seen, I want, obviously, for the folks who live in states where it's dangerous for that. Let's together find the ways in which you can be seen, because you are meant to be seen too. You're meant to be seen. You're meant to be held. You're meant to be protected. We are such incredible, beautiful, and divine people. I know we talk about that as well when you're on our show too. Like, we're all innately, as queer folks, as trans folks, divine people. We are like not just images of the divine, but we are pieces of the divine itself. Absolutely. And so we have an obligation to ourselves and to the higher power within us to make ourselves seen in every possible way. And no one can take that from you at all.
Absolutely.
My sister always, she does it every time. Yes. I'm so grateful.
I love the fact that, because you're right, like you step, like, even myself, place my doggies. But I like what you said just about, when you step outside your house, there's so many times that, I mean, yes, okay, there's the fame thing, but also like, there's just been many times I walk out my house and I'm trying to be incognito. I'm not trying. I'm not. I'm just a regular old Black person just following through here. Don't mind me, don't pay me no mind.
I don't know about you.
Listen, and I know, like, but the reality is that I was created, to be seen in a way, and I am Angelica Ross, and I finally have come to that understanding. But just what I mean by that is, like, imagine having the confidence every day to hold your head up high, to not hide behind sunglasses or, whatever else, to not hide from the glare of people on the bus or at the bus stop or at the kitchen, at the counters, or whatever the case is. And I know a lot of trans people, a lot of queer people have to deal with the anxiety of how people are going to take them in, right? Like you had talked about before. But I think in this moment, I'll give this and before I pass it to you, Doctor, that I think maybe that's an opportunity, and it can be very, very challenging for everybody, but it is an opportunity to worry less about how people are going to take you in, to be as intentional as you can about influencing your environment with whatever special fragrance, light, energy, vibe that you have, let that be undeniable. Let that be unmutable in spite of the challenges, you know. And again, I know everybody needs to stay safe as possible as you can out there. But, you know, I also know that with the challenge of being who we are comes this sort of courage. And it's a courage that I think even inspires the bully, inspires the person who's not showing up authentically to their lives every day. So our courage to overcome our challenges, I think, can be inspiring just in itself of just being ourselves. Yeah. Dr. John Paul, what you got for the folks?
You know, I in the acknowledgments of my book, I allude to thanking Beyonce for the song Bigger, but I also wanted to say that I think the song we didn't give enough to is Be Alive. And I think if you really I'm really trying not to cry right now.
Don't you?
Like it's weird because I had liked that song, and I felt the message in that song, but something just in the last couple of weeks, I revisited that song, and it is so powerful to me because it's like you just hear it. There's a message in that song that I don't think we were ready for, and I share that knowing that a lot of people have a lot of problems with Beyonce. But I will say the one thing about that song for me is there are lyrics in that song where she's basically saying this is hustle personified. And it's like, I know what you've gone through, Angelica, to become Angelica Ross.
Baby.
I know what DoctorJonPaul went through to become DoctorJonPaul. I've known what Joho has gone through to become the co-host of the Black Fat Femme Podcast, right? So it's like we all know each other's struggles, and oftentimes we think we're in it by ourselves, and we think that we're struggling, and the life is hard, and it is very hard. But there's this moment where you're gonna like, if you and I'm having to tell myself this a lot because like today has been a good day. I'm gonna just give it. I'm gonna say the last couple of weeks actually have just been like, what is this? What's going on? I don't really understand, God. What is happening? And then today, just a whole bunch of like good stuff just kind of just started coming out, and I'm like, I'm doing it. You know, and that's the thing I want people to hear. Yeah. It has nothing to do with just me. It's we're doing this, and what you might do to put yourself out there could and will inspire someone else to live. And so when I see, and I say this all the time, when I see TS win, I win. When I see Angelica win, I win. When I see Dominique win, I win. When I see a Black non-binary person win an award for something, I win, right? Because we're showing up in our authentic selves in a way, in a world, and in an industry. I'll say even in an industry, because all of this is entertainment. We're showing up in entertainment in ways that folks don't want us to show up. Right. I can actively say I know for a fact there have been people who have told me if you were more silent about white violence, if you were more silent about queer this or queer that, if you were more silent about that, then maybe you might get hired for a show. Right. I've had people pull me to the side and say, yeah, you probably were passed over because you made that comment about a white exec. Right. And now that I think about it, I'm looking around and I'm going, I'm still winning.
Absolute, baby.
Speaking my truth the way I want to.
I don't want to be in a room. Let me tell you something. I've learned to do a dog whistle.
Hello.
Let me go.
Yeah.
I want the hit dog to holler.
Holler, please.
Please. I don't want to. I do not want to be.
After this year, and I'm the same way, Angelica. After this year, I'm looking around and I'm going, I don't want to be in any rooms with people who want me to silence,
to dim my light,
to dim myself down because they want to feel superior. And I think about who was it? I could see her face, but I can't say her name because I'm not good with names. She's a writer, a very, very famous queer writer, but she said if the only time that you feel tall is if I'm at my knees, then that's a problem. And I forget what her name is. But I think about that.
Raquel Willis.
No, it's she passed away a couple of years ago, okay. And I can't think of her name. She had black and white hair, and they were I think they were in locks. Oh, what was her name? I want to speak her name, and I think she was queer too.
I feel like I know who it is.
You know who I'm talking about. But anyway,
Toni Morrison.
Yeah.
Toni Morrison.
That's it. Toni Morrison. Thank you. I remember seeing a clip from her. She was being interviewed, and someone said that if the only time you feel powerful is when I'm at my knees, then it says more about you than it says about me. And I think about that often. If somebody has to make me feel small in order for them to feel big, we don't need to be in the same room. We really don't.
Yeah.
And that's the message that I have now is we've got to stop selling ourselves short and making ourselves small for other people to feel big.
Listen, so yes, I think we're going to name this episode Unapologetically Black.
I know that's right.
Yes. With Dr. John Paul and Joe Ho. Thank you so much for this conversation and just kind of being very transparent about, just the mental health of it all and giving some really good advice. And congratulations on 3 years on the podcast. Congratulations on a already successful book. Yes. I'm going to go pre-order my copy. Y'all, if y'all have not pre-ordered your copy, get your copy right now. Black Fat Femme.
Get your copy here.
Absolutely. So before we go, what can the people expect in reading the book, Black Fat Femme?
Yeah. So the like I said, tangent. Like I said, I wrote the proposal and then sold it as a podcast first. So it was kind of working backwards. But it really is. It's a tie-in to a lot of what our show is about, right? This idea of what it's like to grow up in a world where you're constantly searching and you're trying to find yourself and you're really trying to understand yourself. But the cool part is that I'm telling it not only just through my lens, but I'm also telling my story through the lenses of famous people and famous Black, fat, and non-binary people.
Yes. Yes.
That really shaped my life. So like
tie it together for the girls.
So I basically talk about the first time I heard someone in my family talk about Luther being queer and what that said to me. Right. The idea of how my family responded to Luther and what that told me about queerness. I talk about seeing Andre Leon Talley after I started thinking about suicide and how seeing Andre really gave me this onus of, I can be successful in entertainment one day. I talk about a lot of folks don't know who this is, but Jason Williams, who was on a lot of people here again. I called him my mother.
I'm thinking, I'm like, what?
But Jason Williams was on the second season of Making the Band, and he was the quote unquote den mother. And I have a chapter about them calling him a queen and what that meant for me being called a queen. Right. I go into all of these. The first time I ever meet Latrice Royale, who wrote my forward. All of these things. These are all people who like inspired me, but also helped me figure out who I was in a world where I wasn't allowed to. And so that's really what the book is. I've been saying, and I will keep saying, it's a love letter to Black fat femmes.
Well, that's amazing. I'm one. I might not be all three, but I'm two of them. So I'm gonna get the book, and I think that you baby. I think that it's going to. There's a lot that'll still resonate with me, as well, because I listen to your podcast and just I find myself obviously and amen, and I heard that, and that's right, a lot of times. So again, thank you and congratulations,
thank you, baby.
And y'all, we will be right back. All right. Thank you again, Dr. John Paul and Jordan Daniels, for just being so candid and hilarious. If you haven't already, please subscribe to their podcast. Go out and get Dr. John Paul's book. The website, the podcast is always a good time, and you always learn a little something. Also, make sure you go out there and get Dr. John Paul's book, Black Fat Femme, revealing the power and visibility for queer. All right. Thank you again, Dr. John Paul and Jordan Daniels, for just being so candid and hilarious. I love catching up with you. And if you haven't already subscribed to their podcast, what are you waiting for? It's a good time, and you always learn a little something. And make sure you get Dr. John Paul's book, Black Fat Femme, revealing the power of visibly queer voices in media and learning to love yourself. That's an amazing title. All right. Now, before we go, you know how we do here. We drop a little. Okay, I'm losing my energy. 1 second. Oh, you felt that? I felt that. It was me trying to rush through it. Here we go. Woo! All right. Thank you again to Dr. John Paul and Jordan Daniels for just being so candid in our conversation. It was amazing. If you haven't already subscribed to their podcast, what are you waiting for? It's always a good time. You learn something. And be sure to pick up Dr. John Paul's book, Black Fat Femme, Revealing the Power of Visibly Queer Voices in Media and Learning to Love Yourself. All right, y'all. That's it for us today. But before we go, I just want to drop a little Buddhist breadcrumb. You know how we do here. Drop a little seed, let it sink in. Hopefully it'll blossom into something beautiful. So in Buddhism, we believe that life is like a mirror and the way we live reflects back on us and the world around us. Daisaku Ikeda says that when we change, the world changes. In media space where in Buddhism, we believe that life is like a mirror, and the way we live our lives reflects back on us and the world around us. Daisaku Ikeda says, when we change, the world changes. In media space where voices of authenticity and truth are so important, remember, embracing and respecting our own unique voices. That's how we carve out space for others to do the same. Every act of sharing your story authentically can inspire someone else to shine in their truth. And together, we can create a more compassionate, connected world. No opportunity wasted.